Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I told myself, let me create a short video. At least I'll try to make a short video about my journey with God, my walk with God. Yeah, so it all started 3.5 months ago. When I was at work and I've heard the voice telling me leave. To leave. Just I've heard one word, leave. So I was surprised. This is the first time something like this happened to me. And I was wondering, like, did I hear well? Yeah, but really, I knew I could hear well. And I instantly knew what the voice meant by this one word, leave, to leave the company. So I said, because the month of Ramadan, the month of fasting, was about to start, and I'm practicing Muslim and I do fast. So I said, I was thinking, okay, well, it's a direction, instruction from God, so I need to obey. But let me, because the fasting should start very soon, I should take some time to prepare, to figure out what to do next in life. What other job could I find or something like that. Let me take like 2 weeks and then I'll leave. Yeah, so in the meantime I started fasting and I got another instruction, which was to ask for the religious accommodation while fasting. And then a few days after I got like only partial approval of my religious accommodation request. But I found it really interesting because this is not something that, it's not me. I wouldn't really do that usually. I wouldn't do that on my own because I consider my relationship with God private. And I don't go around and telling people, what I do. If I pray or I don't pray, I fast or not. And I never actually requested religious accommodation from the company that I was working for ever before. But, God said, do that, so I did. And 10 days after I requested this religious accommodation, I was just, suddenly called for a meeting and got terminated from my job. It all took like 10 minutes. It's over. In the middle of exercising my religious right, because the month of Ramadan lasts for the whole month, not just for 10 days. Yeah. So there's some wisdom behind it, God knows. After that, I started receiving messages to move and to separate myself from my environment, which I eventually did. But I just got one word, move. And okay, the other one was don't go back. That's it. Move and don't go back and separate. So it took me a while until I figured out, like, really, did I hear that well? Should I do it? But the message was a repeated message. So I figured out, yes, this is God speaking to me. I said, okay, let me start preparing myself for move. I got rid of all of my stuff, and took me maybe 2 weeks to prepare myself for the trip, and I just left. Oh, I didn't know where. So I just know one word, move. I just knew that I needed to move. But I had like 100 questions above my head. Like where, why, how, to which state. Is it US, within US or abroad? Should I sell my car, or I'm going to move with my car, or should I book a flight to somewhere? Where? And things like that. Yeah, questions like that were coming up, but no answer. So I've chosen a date when to move, and I said, okay, so tomorrow was the date. Still no answer about anything. But I said, let me just, let me do it. The message was, repeated message, move, move. So, okay, I'm moving. I really made a decision. I'm going to move, even though I don't know where. So I packed my stuff, and the next day I said I'll just grab myself a cup of coffee, and then I will go back to the car and ask my God where to go. So this is what I did, and I've heard east. So I went more east from the town where I was at, and then I've heard more east. So I went more east, and then I heard, okay, now have a lunch here. So I had a lunch there, and I stayed there for a month and a half. So during this whole journey, at this moment, it lasted for 3 months and a half. But this month and a half was really the toughest period, but not really the whole month and a half. The toughest period for me was the first 3 days, because okay, now I'm moved, now what? There is complete silence. So actually, I was in a wilderness season, and I was in a testing and waiting and transition season all at once. And since I've moved, so I obeyed God, and God started revealing things to me, like why did I need to separate from my environment. So basically, you will hear nothing unless you obey God. Once you obey God, God will reveal things to you step by step, and you'll go through testing. And each time you pass the test, you will hear congratulations and you've been upgraded. And then you'll have a new test. Yeah, so after that, since I passed all of my tests, I've heard that my territory is too small for me. I should expand my territory. That meant that I should move to some larger territory, which I did. So I stayed there for 2 weeks, and then I got instruction to move farther. And eventually it brought me to this place. Well, this is just a brief story, but just wanted to share it with you. It's basically a story about my walk with God, about my wilderness season, about the stages in wilderness season, and what were my experiences within the wilderness season, and why it needed to happen. And God's revelations about my life, about my purpose in life. God's revelations about my enemies and why they were attacking me. Yeah, so things like that. So in the meantime, God instructed me to journal everything, all this, my journey basically with my walk with God, and I did that. So in 2 weeks I had 5 journals already. The messages kept coming, and the instruction was to write a book based on those journals, which I am doing, and I will publish that book. And the reason behind it is to help others who will go through the same process. So, the way I understood it, I'm like a pioneer among the first ones who are doing it, but there will be many others who will go through the same process. And those others, these are people who are good people, who are God fearing people. So basically, God leads us through this process in order to save us. This is a period of divine separation where God is separating good people, God fearing people, believers, honest believers from the hypocrites.